So going forward, especially in these depressed market situation we're in now, understanding these disaster programs is probably as important as about anything on your operation, because a good chunk of our cash flow, especially our base acres with the FSA, is going to come from these things. So we asked at our meeting, of course, which of these programs did you elect for your wheat? One's individual, ARC 2 county, ARC 3 PLC, or don't care. 87% of our producers, basically all of them, because the other ones didn't know, are probably elected into PLC, which is good because that's the direction we pushed everybody to go on this stuff. You'll see why going forward. ARC actually paid better the last couple of crop years, but rolling forward now with these depressed commodity prices, there are going to be substantial differences in being in PLC and ARC. In PLC, it only pays when the price falls below the set base price that was set in the farm bill. So like example on wheat is set at $5.50. You'll see how low we are now and how big of a payment that's going to trigger. ARC County is more like a giant crop insurance unit for the entire county. Once the county falls below its base, 86% of its base revenue for a crop, it'll trigger payments. Once it gets down to 76%, it paid out everything that it possibly can at that point. So then SCO, we'll go through in more detail, but that's a federal crop provided disaster program. The payment's figured off of county yield and revenue, but when it triggers on every unit on your policy. We'll go through in a little more detail how this works, but it's triggered some substantial payments through our office, especially for the 2015 crop year already. And you must be in PLC to qualify for this. So if you signed up for county ARC, you can't be in SCO. You could do this farm by farm too. So if half your farm's in ARC and the other half is in PLC, you can still put half of the farm in SCO on our side. The good thing about this program is it uses your actual seeded acres and yields to figure your payment, not base acres. So it's more reflective of the crops you were growing during that growing season and whether they had a disaster or not. So for this fall, when will I get my disaster money? PLC and ARC and Toole and Glacier counties both are going to pay out on most of the crops. PLC only on wheat, but it's a pretty good size payment. So you'll get this payment right after your CRP money comes out, which would be the first or second week of October. So pretty quick like here. You're going to get money for the 2015 crop year's price issues that we're going to get paid for on PLC and ARC. There's a 6.8% reduction in all of our payments due to sequestration, which was basically put into place because the government couldn't reach an agreement on how to set the budget. And so they're going to reduce all of our payments by 6.8% because of that. That's going to be the same thing for the 2016 crop year stuff, which we'll pay in 2017, which we'll get into. So we triggered a payment of 61 cents a bushel. You take that 6.8% reduction and put it onto that, so that makes it actually a 57 cent a bushel payment on PLC. So just for a quick example, PLC is pretty simple. If you have a 35 bushel yield at the FSA for this farm number, you would receive 20 bucks an acre on 85% of the base acres. Starting this October, basically, is when those payments will be issued. So this is kind of an average yield for the county. If you have more than a 35 bushel FSA yield, you get a little more money. If you have less, you'll get less. Our county probably also is going to trigger, it looks like. In Toole County, it'd be about 24 bucks an acre on 85% of the base acres in wheat, 27 bucks an acre on barley. In Glacier County, no payment, probably on barley, and 18 bucks an acre on wheat. So depending on which county you're in, PLC might pay better or worse than ARC. Going forward, PLC is going to pay substantially more than ARC will for the 2016 crop year, which I'll show you. So going forward, for the 2016 crop year, which will be paid in the fall of 2017, you can see wheat now is already projecting out at $1.80 a bushel payment. When we go through our sample farm demonstration, you'll see just how much money this is. I expect barley as well. Right now it shows no payment, but there's a lot left to average on barley here. I expect that to come in at 50 cents a bushel or possibly even more because of the open market barley price being so low. Some of the contracts were quite a bit lower this year, and the feed barley market obviously is tanked too. So that should trigger a loss payment on the barley side too. It just hasn't got figured into the average yet. The wheat, that $1.80 a bushel, we're already now at the end of September going to be 53% into the historical average of this. Why is that? Because most of the wheat, especially in the Midwest, is delivered and sold in June, July, August, and September. So we're only 4 months into the average, as you can see. but that means we're 53% of the weighting done on that average already. So even if the wheat market was to come back some, at this point we're looking at some pretty substantial PLC payments going forward for the 2016 crop year. The 2016 disaster money will be paid out in the fall of 2017, just like we're getting the 2015 disaster money in the fall of 2016 now. Wheat's projecting some huge payments on PLC and lower payments probably for Ark County because our price per bushel keeps going down on the Ark side. So $1.80 a bushel projected payment for wheat right now. They actually just came out with the average since I did this presentation, and now we're looking at $1.90 a bushel projected. You'll see in my presentation when we use our sample farm, I use $1.70, just assuming the wheat market comes back some. So if anything, I'm guessing low is what I'm getting at, I think. We're already half into our average on that crop already. So if you had a 35 bushel FSA yield like we do on our farm roughly, you would get $1.80 a bushel or $63 an acre paid on 85% of your wheat base acres at the FSA. You don't have to seed any wheat to have this payment. You just need to have wheat base at the FSA office. So next year, if you want to just bow out of seed and wheat because it's not projecting well, you'll still get this payment. And of course, this is for the 2016 crop year. How about SEO? SEO is our county-wide disaster program you can pay into on the crop insurance side. I think it has a decent chance to pay on the barley and the peas in Toole County due to the huge amount of hail up in the north end of this county, and also some of the pea yields weren't as good as some people were expecting. A big chunk of the lentils got hailed out, and the peas and lentils are all together in the county in one big pot. So the rest of the crops, there's some really good winter wheat crops, but the price dropped a lot, so we'll have to wait and see on that. And canola, I don't know, there was a pretty good canola crop by the hills, so probably not. It'll be paid out in April of next year if there is a payment, if you have SEO on your crop insurance. This program paid out a bunch in our agency in 2015, like to the tune of around $800,000. So it can make a huge difference when we get into these drought years or some serious declines in price as far as your total payout on your farm. We'll take you through our farm example here and show you just how this all figures together. So how does SEO work? It's similar to ARC. It's a county-wide disaster program based on how the county comes in compared to its projected revenue at harvest time. It uses county insurance yields instead of survey data for 2016 and beyond, or crop insurance yields, sorry. So when you guys report all your production to us on the crop insurance side, they tabulate up all those numbers, and that's where they come up with the county's yield, which is good because that's more accurate than the survey data, and it's more readily available sooner, I think. You must have signed up for PLC and not for ARC to be eligible for this SEO program on the crop insurance side. And eligible commodities now in 2017 is pretty much any crop we can insure. How does it work? First, you pick your individual coverage side. So in this example, let's say you pick 70% on the individual side. Then you're covered for a county disaster program up to the 86% level, which is the gap between 86% and your 70% individual level. So for this example, we'd have 86% for the trigger yield or the trigger guarantee in the county. You have 70% of the MPCI insurance that you signed up for. So you would have 16% of your guarantee based off of a county-wide disaster program on the SEO side. Once a county gets below 86% of its average, it'll start to pay. Once it gets down to your individual crop insurance level for the county, then you get all your money out of this program. So how do you choose SEO? First, you must elect it by September 30th for winter wheat if you're going to do that, or March 15th for the spring crops. So you'd sign up for that on your application now during this deadline for winter wheat. You'd pick a level on your individual side. The lower level you go on your individual coverage, the more insurance you have on the SEO side, or the more county-wide insurance you would have. The county yield and price is set then in the spring. So let's say the Toole County's yield is 40 bushels for wheat, and there's a $5 price on wheat. They'd say the county's expected to gross $200 an acre on wheat. At harvest time, then after you guys report all your production, they tabulate the county's average price or average yield for wheat, so the county could come in at 30 bushels, let's say, and the harvest price on the crop insurance is figured in there. So if it went down to $4, they take the 30 bushels times the $4, or say the county realized $120 an acre on wheat. Once it gets below 86% of its average, it starts to pay. When the county's revenue gets down to the point that you're at your individual crop insurance level, you get all of your SCO money out of there then. So if you have a $20 SCO guarantee, it doesn't have to get down to zero to pay your total guarantee dollars out. It just has to get down to your individual crop insurance level. What are the advantages? You can receive FSA payments through PLC, which is a price support program. Also receive payments on your multi-peril side for a county revenue yield loss program. So it's kind of like being an ARC and PLC at the same time. Much better program than ARC. For one, because if there's a yield loss and the price goes up, we pay you more, where it actually takes away from your ARC payment. But also it's off your actual seeded acres, not your base acres, which is more reflective of what you guys actually need the money for. There's no payment cap in SCO. $125,000 per person payment cap on the PLC and ARC programs. That also includes some loan gains and LDP payments. And as you'll see going forward, some of us actually could hit payment caps here on the FSA side of things. It's triggered at the county level, so you could be eligible for a payment in this program even if you cut an above average crop in your operation. Obviously, this could work the other way around, where you could have a disaster in your operation, but the rest of the county did well and you wouldn't get this SCO money. The other good thing is, like we said, is it's based off your actual seeded acres, not off your base acres at the FSA. What's a disadvantage? It costs you money to participate, between 11 and 14% of your SCO guarantee. So you pay $2 or $3 for $20 worth of coverage. It's based on a county yield and national market year average, not your actual yields or local markets. So it could be that it doesn't exactly reflect what happened in your county, especially market-wise, since it's a whole market average for the entire country, basically, for the crop. And you won't be paid till the market year average price and yield are figured, probably April of the following year. Much quicker than the FSA's disaster programs, but you do have to wait until April of the following crop year before this pays out. So what do we suggest you do? As always, since the beginning of this new farm bill, we've suggested you do PLC and SCO together. That's your best chance of having a big payout when things really go south here, which you'll see when we go through our farm example. So in our farm in 2016, on Wendy's stuff, we had 2,750 acres of crop. 950 acres of that were barley, 700 acres of peas, 650 acres of winter wheat, 350 of canola, and 100 acres of pea oat hay, which is uninsurable. So every one of these crops on here has SCO coverage stacked on top of it as well. So all of these are in the county disaster program, SCO, that you pay into. The only thing that we can't put SCO on is the pea oat hay, because it's not insurable through federal crop, right? That's an annual forage crop, like we talked. So all of our acres are enrolled in SCO. All are eligible because they're in PLC at the FSA. So all of our base acres are enrolled in PLC. For base, we have 1,700 acres of wheat and 925 acres of barley. Where does this base come from? That's the historical average at the FSA for our farm for the years when they let us certify our base acres. So these acres have nothing to do with what our seeding plan is going forward. They're based off of what we had done in the past on each farm number, basically. You can see up here with this last crop year, we only had 650 acres of wheat. We're going to get paid, though, disaster-wise, on 1,700 acres of wheat at the FSA. So what's a probable example for Wendy's farm for 2016? I'm going to split this into a separate video, and we'll start back over here in just a second.